This is VK3SL, a test transmission on 160 metres, 2 metres, and also streaming live on the Broadwave streaming service, which can be found on my QRZ page. There's a link to that. We do this every Friday night. It's been going for, golly, nearly 2 years, at least 18 months. When was it? May? Yeah, no, look, nearly 2 years. And we've been using modulated sound as a means to test the equipment here and also provide listeners a chance to tune in and try out their receivers. Working in the AM mode on 160 and FM mode on 2 metres. Now, acknowledging that there was a skid on 2 just before I came on. I came in here about 5 minutes ago and I could hear them winding up. So I hope that there was you weren't planning to continue. I think you'd signed when I came in. So hoping that's the case. Well, haven't put a lot of thought, but that's the usual thing. I think we will do something about, yes, we'll have some historic material in here. It's not unusual. Yeah, we'll find something of interest and we'll work out what's happening. I'll crank up the gramophone, get the shovel out, find the mine the shellac, and we'll see what sort of comes about. Well, the first thing I did was to just take a random record off the shelf, and it happens to be the original Memphis 5 from about 1928. So we'll kick off with Lovely Lee. This is VK3SL. Do I need to? That's it. It's going. original Memphis 5 from August 1927. I was able to look that up. That's one of Phil Napoleon's bands, and they were quite prolific. They made a lot of records, and I think at one stage they had the Dorsey brothers in the orchestra. I'm not sure if they featured in that track or not, but anyhow, a bit of nostalgia, very scratched up Brunswick. But I think it's not one of the light rays. I think it is a post-light ray Brunswick. So potentially that would have a good sound, I think, if it was in reasonable condition. Yes, we have to be quite analytical about these things. Naturally, we are only testing. This is no entertainment allowed whatsoever. This is strictly about acknowledging test material and understanding its full expression in different formats. Now, what's next? Something else to express the madness of the setting here. Let's have a listen to the 4 Bright Sparks on a Columbia. This is She Reminds Me of You, VK3SL.
Like you, she talks like you, says pretty little things just the way you do. So I fell in love with her because she reminds me of you. She pouts like you, she doubts like you, always keeps on telling me that I'm untrue. So I fell in love with her because she reminds me of you. Time and time I've called her by your name, and our love I never have denied. But she said if I love her half as much as I loved you, why, she'd be satisfied. She sighs like you, oh, she cries like you. May she never tell those little lies like you, for I fell in love with her because she reminds me of you.
Yeah, that was She Reminds Me of You, the 4 Bright Sparks on Columbia. From what, about 1934, I think, that record. Now, that's Van Phillips directed that group. And, not that the personnel, I can look them up. Oh, can't be bothered. Anyhow, that was something a little bit sort of slightly more relaxed, I suppose. And gives me a moment to sort of collect myself, think about what's going to happen this evening. Well, I've got a couple of ideas, and one of them is to explore the music of Ernest Chasson, so I might do that a little bit later on. And there's a couple of ways of doing this, and I'm particularly interested in Chasson, so that'll be the classical music segment, which will start in about half an hour, I suppose. So before that, we continue on a bit of 20s mania. We used 1920s original records as test material on these airs, and we make sure that that they get a good airing, and because otherwise they just don't get heard. The shelves are full of them here. Records I madly collected when I was young, very young, and they've been sort of stored away for a very long time, and now they are yearning to be enjoyed. Well, the next one is a record of the Arcadians. I think it's the Arcadians. Yes, I think so. The Toymakers Dream. It's a J. Wilbur group, I think. The Arcadians. Anyhow, it's on an Arcadia record. So I think I'll have to find my way over to the turntable for this one. I'll have to swap the records over. Let's just cue that in. Toymaker's Dream from late 1920s. VK3SL.
Workman was making toys all day, so children could be happy when they were all at play. One night when all was quiet, his daily work was done. In the shadows deep he fell fast asleep as the toys woke one by one. There's lions, camels, tigers, and elephants or two. Just hear that great big rooster sing cock-a-doodle-doo. And dear old Mother Hubbard, who found her cupboard bare, and Santa Claus, who's here because he has some toys to share. There's battleships and cruisers and big electric trains. The sky away above him is filled with aeroplanes. Right in his little workshop, he made them all. It's true. Attention, attention, get ready for review.
Okay, that was a little bit lame, but anyhow, a bit of late 20s nostalgia with a slight comic, well, not quite a comic edge to it, but novelty, I suppose. All right, look, I've been having a look at what Mr. Prozert's been putting up online. He has been prolific as usual, always putting new things up. Every week there's a new offering. And this time we'll have a listen to some recordings of we'll start off with the Princeton Triangle Jazz Band. It's a rarity. I have no knowledge of this band. In fact, there's not much information about them at all. He put up one recording with Jimmy Stewart singing as a very young man. We might have a listen to that as well. But the one I've quickly lined up is a track called Make Time, and that's from 1931. So it seemed to be a bit of a spiffy, lively number, so we'll put that one on, strictly to not entertain you. And we'll have a listen to Mr. Prozert. Now I'm trying to look at the label here. What label is it? Can't see. It's a personal record. Oh, okay. I don't know anything about that label. Anyhow, this is one of Prozert's rarities for this test transmission. This is VK3SL. Clicking the button. Here's some great raw energy in that performance. I'm going to let this continue now. We'll hear, play this for a minute, and we'll hear Jimmy Stewart, a very young, probably a teenage Jimmy Stewart, with Day After Day.
I go around smiling from ear to ear. Sorrow has turned to laughter because you are near. Time after time I burst into song. Melody fills the air. I'll never stop hereafter. Life will be free from care. Just as evening follows afternoon, I follow you round. Just as age can change the sun or moon, our love stays sublime regardless of time. Day after day, we will enjoy heaven on earth for two. Who cares what follows after? 'Cause now it's day after day with you.
Yeah, I don't think it's common knowledge that Jimmy Stewart made records. A very young Jimmy Stewart. Don't think he'd made many films by 1931, but obviously a burgeoning career move to make some 78s. So that's one of the rarities from Mr. Prozut. He's been active putting new material up online, so it's good to have these ongoing source material to draw upon. But I'll try and complement it with a range of stuff here. Now, I haven't really thought about the next thing, so I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to reach over into the pile of records over here, and well, it's like a lucky dip. Big box of records right next to me. I'm going to put my hand in, and there we go. There is one right here. Take it out of the cover, and what do we have? Oh, I've got to better put the spectacles on. And what do we have? We have Alfredo Campoli. This must be the Campoli box, because I picked one of these out last week. Narcissus. Narcissus Opus 13, number 4, by Nevin. And on the other side is the Swan. Oh, I know the Swan very well. So, I don't know Narcissus. So this could bring out everyone's narcissistic tendencies, and we'll have a listen, see what happens. It might cause some anarchy. Who knows? Yeah, we have too much of that in the public arena, don't we? Narcissus Opus 13, number 1. All right, well, I'll just do a backwards flip. So I haven't got the ident CD in. So put this Decca on. Alfredo Campoli and his Dorchester Hotel Orchestra, as I understand it. And we'll fade up and see what this is like. Well, we just heard Narcissus from Alfredo Campoli, and someone's just walked into the studio. This is a young member of my family. Who do we have here?
My name's Will.
Yes, this is William. And where have you been, Will?
To the footy.
To the football, right. And tell us about the game.
It was Collingwood playing, so...
Okay.
And they won. So
they won. Okay. Was it a good match?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess so.
Right. Did they win by a lot?
Yes, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, so you're happy.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. You see, I don't know anything about this football business, but it sounds like it was a big match.
Big.
Was there lots of people there?
37,000.
37, that doesn't sound like very much. Usually there's hundreds of thousands, isn't there, at these footy matches?
The stadium has a capacity of 53,000.
Right. And,
So it's like-
so it's a smaller stadium.
Yeah,
Was
it's
it- was
half
that-
the size of the MCG.
Was that at Victoria Park?
No.
I used to go to Victoria Park to see the football and
attendance at
sit on my dad's shoulders.
The capacity of Victoria Park right now is about 8,000.
Right.
So-
Yes. Yes. Actually, they've pulled down the stands, haven't they? Okay. So it was was it a high scoring match?
For Collingwood it was a bit, yeah.
And you see
They
lots of.
scored over 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, that's all good. So lots
It
of
was
goals.
108 to 69.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that sounds like they thrashed the other team.
Yeah, they did.
So who was the other team?
Port Adelaide.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm afraid to say I'm not going to play the Collingwood theme song. I could play the original though. Now, what's the original for the Collingwood theme song? Oh, if I can find my mouse here. It's hard to type on this. Tell us something else about the match while I'm looking.
I don't know.
Oh, this is not going to work. I'll have to. The computer's gone funny. Not to
Yeah.
worry. Anyhow, so it sounds like you had a good night out. You've been out way for hours. Did
Yep.
you take the train? Did you?
Yep.
Right. Was there lots of happy Collingwood supporters on the train?
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
Right. So must be the latest you've ever been up, is it?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well done. Sounds good. I think it's good old Dolly Gray, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good old. I'm doing the other computer. Dolly Gray, and I think it's a Civil War song. Goodbye, Dolly Gray. Here it is, and I think it was a Harry McDonald. Yeah, here we go. Well, have a listen to this. This is the Collingwood theme song as it was, and this will send you straight off to bed. Here we go. This is recorded a long time ago. Let's have a
Can't
look.
really hear it.
No, 1901. That's pretty early. This is off a cylinder. All right, I'll play this while you get off to bed. Thanks, Will.
There's a murmur in the air, you can hear it everywhere. It is time to do and dare, Dolly Gray. Don't you hear the tramp of feet, Dolly Gray? Sounding through the village street, Dolly Gray. Is the tramp of soldiers true in their uniforms of blue? I must say goodbye to you, Dolly Gray. Goodbye, Dolly, I must leave you, though it breaks my heart to go. Something tells me I am needed at the front to fight the foe. See, the boys in blue are marching, and I can no longer stay. Hark, I hear the bugle calling, goodbye, Dolly Gray.
Okay, there we have it. So here's a question for you, Will. If that was recorded 1901, how long ago was that?
118 years ago.
Well, that's good. You know your maths. And how long had Collingwood been playing then?
What do you mean?
When did the Collingwood start playing? When was their first match?
1892.
Oh,
That's when their team got invented. VFL, AFL started in 1897.
Really? Okay. So how many clubs were there when it all started off?
Maybe about 4 or 5.
Okay, so it was a pretty...
Actually, I think it was Collingwood, Essendon, Melbourne and Richmond. And yeah, that's probably it.
Right. So that's how...
Or maybe Geelong.
There was a team called University, wasn't there? That's the team I would have played for. I don't think they won any
I
matches.
think that's the second. I don't think it's the actual AFL.
Oh, okay. I seem to remember that during the war there was a team called University.
Yeah, I think it's the second because if it was the AFL, then it I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it would, to be honest, it probably wouldn't have been
Okay.
in
Right.
AFL.
Because I remember it used to be the VFL.
Yep.
And then it turned into AFL. Then all these teams started disappearing. Like I remember there used to be Fitzroy,
Yep. Yeah. They're still going.
but they've turned into another state, haven't they?
No, my friend plays for Fitzroy.
Oh, is there still a Fitzroy in the league?
Yeah, it's just not AFL.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah, so there's still Fitzroy. Was it Fitzroy Bears or whatever it is?
Oh, okay.
What was?
Yeah, well, I thought they were the Lions.
Yeah, Fitzroy Lions. There we go. Yeah.
Yes, I remember going to their match, going to their ground. What else? There used to be South Melbourne.
No, they're Sydney now.
They went to Sydney, didn't they? South Melbourne. And there was a football ground that had a house on it. I think it might have been North Melbourne. And one of them had big...
SCG, you mean? Look up SCG.
Yeah, I can't... See, that computer's not working. It's all filled up with this
Would this work?
playlist. This one might.
Look, SCG, there's like a house. It's like this big old fashioned...
SCG.
It's one of the old...
Is that the Sydney Cricket Ground?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was one of our local grounds had a house on it.
Hang on, so click images.
Yeah, all right. Click images. Let's have a look. This is the Sydney. Oh, yes.
No, hang on. It's got, look, see?
Oh, yeah.
It's got an old-fashioned grandstand.
It does. That's these. I like old grandstands. I know that when we go on the train, go past Richmond, there's a really old, still got an old grandstand at Richmond Ground.
Oh, yeah, they do too.
But when they widened Punt Road, they had to stop having games there, I think.
No, they still have VFL games there.
Hey, did they let you run out in the ground and meet the players?
No.
You're not allowed to run out in the ground anymore. I used to like running out onto the ground, and the players seemed so big. They seemed just so enormous, these huge people, and it was just overwhelming. I used to collect their autographs. But I was really young. Then I got sick of it. But never mind. So what other teams?
What about...
What other teams did there used to be? There used to be... Have they still got?
Coast.
They still got
Look,
North
see,
Melbourne.
There, that's a good picture.
Oh,
of it.
okay. There's the one of the Sydney Cricket Ground with the old-fashioned stadium with the pergolas on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the I think oldest stadium in Australia.
See, we've got no sense of history in Melbourne because they pulled down all the stadiums. They're all gone.
And the MCG used to have them. So.
Yeah. I remember the MCG used to have Bay 13. And when
they only have one grandstand left, which is from like the 90s and 80s.
Oh, that's so long ago. Oh, gosh. They used to have Bay 13 and there'd be ice fights.
And then if you look up, they knocked down the whole entire MCG with just one grandstand.
Yeah.
And it looks so weird.
I like those pictures of the MCG with trees growing at it. You look, there's pictures here of MCG, look it up. MCG history. And you have
that picture.
Have you seen the one with trees with beautiful? Here we go.
Oh, is that it?
That's
1853.
No, but there's a really old picture of it here somewhere, and it's like a painting or a etching or something. Here it is. Look, there it is. There. Look at that. It's got trees growing in it. How about that? Isn't that incredible? That's the MCG. It's the same ground.
It's actually the same.
It is exactly the same ground, but look at it. That's about 1870 or something, and it's got trees growing around it.
Do they have any grandstands?
I don't think so. Oh, there might be a little bit of one at the back there. Can you see? Looks like there might be.
And if you go to other pictures, look, see.
And there's people sitting in the branches of the tree, climbing up the trees to watch the match.
Hang on, go down.
Yeah.
I just saw something. Look at that.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's...
Or this.
Oh, there's another one with trees. Look at this. Gum trees around the MCG. I think that's much better. It's much prettier, isn't it?
And look at the MCG now.
It's just the thing. It's the same place. It's the same hallowed turf, whatever they call it. But here we have all these
Isn't that
trees.
just a painting?
Well, it's true, though. It would have been painted from reality. They would have seen it.
That's 1956 Olympics.
Oh, the 56 Olympics.
So that's what it used to look like in 1950.
Now, there's the famous Southern Stand is where Bay 13 used to be. And I remember going there to a cricket match and the fellow, it was someone called Chappell, and he rolled the ball on the ground like a carpet bowl so that the player couldn't get out. And I thought, this is very bad sportsmanship. And I've never been since. That was 1981. So...
Why would they do that?
Well, see, the thing is, it was the last ball of the game, and if they'd hit the ball and hit a 4 or a 6, they would have won the game. So they couldn't hit a 4 or 6, he rolled the ball on the ground like a carpet bowl.
What? So he just did this?
Yeah, he did. Just rolled the ball on the ground.
That's not allowed, isn't it? Is it still allowed?
I think I don't know if they changed the rules, but apparently it was allowed. But it's considered to be very bad sportsmanship to do that.
Because that's what it looks like now.
I know. We're down here. Yes.
I mean, that's not what it looks like now.
Oh, I don't know. One of these is. That's 56. That's what the Southern Stand.
Hang on. It was interesting when it had the old-fashioned
Here we
1920.
go. Here's 1874. Oh, look at it there. Still got trees around it.
Look at like 1930.
1930.
And it's like, you see the old-fashioned.
Oh, okay. Well, here we go. Here's the bubble.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I want.
Oh, that's great. See,
See here.
That'd be in the early 1900s. Well, it's a big stadium then, isn't it?
Hang on. So look.
Wait a minute. Oh, I just clicked on it.
You clicked on Wikipedia.
Oh, I did too, and I've lost it. Here we go. There's pictures of the stadium.
Oh yeah, look at that picture.
Oh,
1914.
1914. I like that stadium. It's sort of like a big veranda, isn't it? Really. Yeah, I quite like that. I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I reckon I'd go. If we had decent stadiums, I'd go. I'd be keen to go to the foot because I like walking around looking at old buildings, and at least I'd have something to do.
The most old-fashioned stadium.
Yeah, there's that picture of it in
It's probably the
1864.
SCG, and then.
Yeah, here we go. MCG 1878. A real photo of the MCG in 1878. Now that is interesting because the others are paintings. Here is a photograph in 1877.
What? That's so small.
It's incredible. Now that is that's the most interesting
It's
one
like
yet.
my oval.
Yeah, and trees around it. Well, several trees.
Well, it does have a big thing.
It's
there.
got a stand, but it's a very elegant looking stand, isn't it?
Only fit about 6,000 or something.
Probably. And it hasn't even got any tiers. It's just got a bench around the side. Now that is interesting. Now why isn't it like that now? I'd go to the football if it had interesting stands and old buildings and stuff to look at. Let's go scroll through these pictures. That's it now.
That's just when they're building it.
Oh.
That's really interesting.
Okay.
Look at that.
That's the reconstruction of the Ponsford stand, it says.
That's actually really...
Oh, there we go. Wow.
That's when it was much smaller.
Yeah. And then there it is there.
That's really cool.
Okay.
No, it's such a pretty easy...
Oh, look at that one. That's my favourite. 1914. The 1881 member stand is a smaller building on the left. I can see it. They're very elegant. And look at all the iron lacework. All of the
Would you like to go to the SCG?
I probably would have a look at the old buildings. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. In fact, so if we go to Sydney, you can sort of think about all the sporty things, and I'll think about the architecture. Oh, look at this one. That's the English team. That's very elegant, isn't it?
That's not in Australia.
It's even got a clock tower. I like that stand. Wow. Oh, here we go. That's the Aboriginal team.
White old-fashioned stadiums that exist now.
Old-fashioned?
Or just like old build.
Old-fashioned stadiums. IUMS.
Probably it's going to be black and white, but it'd be interesting.
Old-fashioned.
Oh my god.
In the UK? Here we go. Just look at images. We might see something. Hey, there's some pretty cool stadiums collapsing. Have you seen some of those implosions with stadiums? Wow, you should look those up on YouTube. And they put explosives under them and blow them up.
What? Really?
Yes. When they finish with them, they blow them up and they collapse. And they look really spectacular when they all fold in. But yeah, there we go. These aren't so good, are they?
Yeah.
No, they're not the sort of thing we're looking for.
It's really cool. I'm thinking, try to make. I don't know.
What are you thinking?
Never mind. It doesn't really matter. Well, yeah. Look, see Lego.
Okay. You think you're making a Lego stadium?
Yeah, it might work. I don't know.
Good.
Well, I know how to build them, except you need
is there sort of a kit or something you could use?
Like you have to use like square. It'd be interesting to see what they look like. It's really cool.
Okay.
Look,
you have to have lots of curved
if you look
bricks,
up
though, wouldn't
MCG,
should we say
Lego? Yeah, there's actually one. There's one in Legoland in Chadstone.
Really? Okay. Lego.
Or Lego City. It's just really cool.
Lego MCG, or is it just a stadium? Is it like a generic stadium? Or
look, see there you go.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Look in there.
Hey, is this one?
No, yeah, look just close up inside.
Okay, this one here.
Yeah.
Is that a Lego?
Yeah.
You're joking.
No.
That is amazing. What people do.
Oh, you accidentally clicked. There you go. There you go. It's
look at it. Oh, look at that.
It's incredible.
So are they all Lego people?
Yeah, they're all Lego people and pieces.
That looks like the real thing. At distance, it does.
Because it would have been too much hard work to do the whole thing.
Right.
So
Yes, so there's sort of a bit of infrastructure there. Hey, the other stadium I remember was VFL Park. So I had to collect cans. That was my pocket
where was
money.
VFL Park?
VFL Park was not far from here. It's in Waverley. No, VFL Park?
Oh, Waverley Park.
Yeah, I think it's called
Yeah,
Waverley Park.
it's Hawthorn's ground now. There's still the old-fashioned grandstand there.
Okay. Yes, there's one big grandstand. That's where I used to go up. See,
Pretty old. Like the seats, are like.
that was
infuriating.
my pocket money because Dad worked there.
How much money did you collect?
Well, after the game, Susie and I used to go over and collect cans, and we had to tip all the beer out of the cans and fill these huge plastic bags full of cans after the game had finished, and then we get a few dollars. We cash them into.
From who?
Oh, there's like a big can thing there, and they weigh them. And depending how much the bag weighed, they give you some money. And you'd end up getting about 2 cents a can or something. And if you collected enough big bags of cans, you get quite a bit of pocket money.
Get like $10.
Well, it wasn't $10. It might have been $2 or $3. This is in the 70s. But I remember doing that every week. We used to go, but I used to have headphones with... and
Was this after the game or in the game?
During the game I got really bored and I used to sit up at the back of the grandstand and listen to steam radio on my headphones. But yeah,
Did you ever sit on ground level?
Look, a few times. And when I first started going, I tried to be interested. And I know what I enjoyed most was seeing my PE teacher who played for Collingwood. And also I enjoyed running out into the ground and patting the players on the back. And they were really sweaty and big. Yeah. I reckon it's a shame they don't let people do that anymore, don't you think?
Yeah, hang on, scroll down. Look at this. This is when they're making it. Oh, I get what they're doing.
Yeah.
Look at all that.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty impressive. I reckon that's one of the best Lego kits I've seen. It's enormous. Look at this, got all the
I don't
stages.
know if I could do that.
I reckon you have to put this on your Christmas list. But it's probably a pretty big... Oh, look at the size of it. It's even got lighting towers.
Yeah, look at it. They got lighting tower.
Oh, look at this. Throwback Thursday.
It's like a little...
And it's even got
clip
them doing
of-
marks and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, like you can move the way. Look at this. The people are actually going inside.
They are.
If I could, I wouldn't make an MCG. I'd probably just make like a small stadium or something.
You think so? Yeah, something
It's too
small.
hard to make.
Do you know, it's only 12:30. Have you got football tomorrow? No. Sunday. Tennis. Okay.
Right, see ya.
I won't be taking you. All
Yeah,
right.
I know.
Thanks, Will. See you soon.
Yeah.
All right, this is VK3SL. We're testing here, and we had young William in just to give us the football update. Now, what's next? I might put on some Fritz Kreisler. I got this will sort of feed into a bit of a theme later in the show, I think. So, it's not a show, later in the test. So what we'll do is I will fade in, and I can even play the ident now because I've put that in, and we'll have a listen to Mr. Fritz. This is VK3SL, testing on 160 metres, 2 metres, and the Broadwave stream. Yeah, that was Fritz Kreisler playing Valent Poupée, I think it's called. And, I can't get this computer to start. It's gone for a sleep. Okay, well, what I might do is flip the disc, I think, and see if we can restart things here. Everything is sort of, sort of shut down. I think all this grandstand talk has sent the PCs into suspended mode. All right, let's have the other side of that, I think, and we'll continue with a bit of Fritz Kreisler. This is VK3SL, testing on 160 metres, 2 metres, and the Broadwave streaming service. Yeah, that was Fritz Kreisler, a 1930 Londonderry air, and Valent Poupée on the other side. Nice to feature a bit of Fritz. I haven't played much Fritz Kreisler on these test transmissions before. I have a particular affection for his Viennese style. He had an amazing, a beautiful sound, incredible sound, and he was the first violinist to really champion continuous vibrato. So you get this sort of luminous quality to his sound all the time with so much Viennese charm. And Fritz was born in the 1870s, and he had a really long career. He was still performing until quite late. We'll hear a later recording of Fritz, but what I might do now is have a listen to him play some music of Mozart. It's a Mozart rondo, the Hafner Serenade, and I really like this record, so I think it's a nice one to play since we're having a bit of a Fritz fest. And then I'll line up some OTR. Unfortunately, the mouse has died on this computer. Now, the thing is, it's the driver, I think, for the mouse. It's not working, so I tried another mouse and that didn't work. So, that means that if I start the whole thing, it probably will work if I restart, but then I'll lose my playlist. And there's a couple of things I had I found in the last few minutes. So it's a touch screen, so I think I can still make things work. So anyhow, without any further ado, we'll hear Fritz Kreiser again, and this time playing the Hafner Serenade. This is VK3SL. Now that's interesting. Something's happening here. I can hear the music, but it's not coming out of the system. Wonder why. Interesting. Now, is this coming out of the computer itself? I reckon there's a bit of a driver breakdown here. So what we might have to do is find a contingency. So what I will do is use the second PC, plug the mouse into this. There's two laptops here, and they both have different functions. One of them I use to sort of monitor on STRs and make sure everything is okay, and it sort of has a secondary function, but I can use it. I've just been using it for grandstands. So let's have a look at YouTube, and we'll find my no internet. Oh, that's a bit weird. Maybe I've gone offline. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe no one can hear this online anymore because it doesn't look too good. This is supposed to be the broadband city here. Something has happened. The server looks like it's on. Let's try the other. This might be the problem. Let's have a look here. Oh, it's gone off the iPad as well. So hopefully people are listening on air. And sorry to those. I had quite a few people on the stream tonight, so unfortunately it's no go for you. Well, I think I might have to go to Plan C. Well, I did have a test record, sort of a potpourri record, of early hi-fi record, and I'd like to give the Autophon cartridge a go. There's an old Autophon A cart. It's the only one that seems to have some compliance. So perhaps we can switch on the turntable and have some of this while I get organised. VK3SL. Okay, well, I think we're back online now, but I'll just let this test material continue for a minute while I sort out the playlist. Yeah, it seems like the server was out for a bit, but anyhow, we're back on. I think it should be for those listening in on the server. Yeah, you should be able to tune back in. Okay, we'll just keep this test material going for another few minutes. VK3SL. Okay, we're getting there. It's starting to come together. It's not a bad test. It's a Radiola hi-fi test record from the 50s, late 50s. And there's a bit of a mismatch of material there. It's good. It fits the with the Autophone cart really, really well. So, yeah, good to have a standby. Lucky I had that on standby because I would have been absolutely hung dry. Now, let's have a look. What I thought might be good to have an OTR segment. We'll leave the other Fritz Kreisler, we'll save that for another time. But instead, there's one of those Australian Army series. The Director of Public Relations of the Australian Army put out a whole stack of these publicity recordings. They're sort of looking at events of the mainly in the Second World War and sort of act them out. I've got a pile of them here somewhere. There's quite a lot of them here, but I'll have to find them. But yeah, Mr. Hare's been putting them up online, and they're sort of good dramatic tales. So Yeah, I was trying to look. I think they're Donald Crosby productions made by for AWA in the probably early 60s, late 50s. So, yeah, look, I put one of these on. They're not that long, and, they're quite interesting. So, well, let's cut to that now. I'll just wind this up, and I'll use the standby system while I get the other playlist sorted out. But, it looks like everything's back in motion again now. This is VK3SL. This is testing, of course, and we are now moving into our OTR zone.
Cross your fingers, toss the salt over your right shoulder, and watch your step all day today, pal. Just watch your step all day today.
You going round the bend?
Just all day, that's all, pal. It's the 13th. September the 13th, 1943. The 13th is always unlucky for somebody, pal. So, like I said, watch your step.
Citation. Presenting authentic stories of heroism and gallantry taken from the histories of war. The story of QX 20656, Private R. Kelleher, VC. Perhaps September 13, 1943 was no more unlucky than any other day of the war. But it was to be unlucky indeed for many soldiers that day, as Australian soldiers advanced from Nadzab down the Markham Road towards Leh. A shuttle service of close on 200 aircraft was bringing Australian soldiers into the newly taken Nadzab aerial bridgehead in the Markham Valley of New Guinea, and our army was hot-footing it towards enemy strong positions in a major offensive. The pace was a cracker, and the troops had nicknamed Brigadier K.W. Heather Farlap. He had the 25th Brigade heading into the Strait. But maybe, because it was the 13th, or maybe because the enemy had not yet shown his hand, there was a curious tension in the air as the diggers moved through overgrown plantations along the Markham Valley Road.
Jack, Ned, to the left.
How's Jim?
Boarded.
Unlucky. They had the gun on a fixed line.
That's under the main force yet. Yes, they're up to their old hit-and-run tactics. Wish they'd stay and fight.
They'll stay, sir. When they're ready. Those two nips we knocked over were Marines.
Oh. Would be the 13th.
Could do with the smoke, sir. This kind of war's a bit hard on the nerves.
And the Constitution. All right, pass the word. Here, Jack, here's a light.
Thanks.
Here, Ned.
On your suite. No three of them matched today. Not on the 13th. What'll we do about Jim, sir?
Nothing we can do, Ned. Eminence will pick him up after we move on. Maybe you're right about three of them match on the 13th. Although I didn't expect it of you.
I'm as anxious to stay alive as the next man.
Now, if it had been Keller, huh?
Oh, why did Keller, sir?
Well, you'd expect any man who was born in a place named Ballybaggin in Tralee in Era to be full of such shenanigans as wee folk and ghosties and such like.
Not Keller, sir. Steady as a rock.
Good second 25th man, sir.
Oh, get off me back, you jokers. I wouldn't ask for a better man. Any Irishman who adopts Queensland as his native state is a superman in my book. All right, out, Smokes. Now, let's see. Next plantation is Heath's. Now, those planter blokes would break down and weep if they could see their plantations now. Back to the jungle. Jensen's, Whittaker's, Heath's, Lane's, Vernon's, Edwards, Jacobson's, Didymans. Now, it's kind of ghostly to think that Australian planters had these plantations along this stretch of road once.
Who was it you said went on about ghosties and wee folk?
Yes, I bought that. Okay, we're racing. Come on, men, and...
Know what you mean, sir?
Oh. Look at these tracks crisscrossing. Been plenty of Japs here. But where are they now?
Yeah, that's just it, sir. They know where we are, but... Japs!
And they don't know we're here. They must. They would have heard that firing. It's a trap. Okay, we won't disappoint them. Get the men spread out, Jack, and we'll move on down between those cocoa trees and see what they've got for us.
And the Australians moved onto a battlefield of the enemy's choosing. Japanese Marines, seasoned campaigners, were waiting, chattering, calling, laughing, as they waited for the Australians to make the move. The Australians made the move, and the battle was joined. The Australians were pinned down by the sweeping fire, and it was decided our men should try the back door, should split from the head-on assault, then infiltrate behind the strongly entrenched enemy. The platoon of which Private Richard Kelleher was a member was sent to the right flank, while the Australian artillery brought down fire that was so close as to breathe fire of explosion on our men as they lay in wait.
That Artie mob's got the game skunked.
Yeah, too close for me.
Oh, they haven't hit you. That 54th battery of the 2/4th Field Regiment could split a cat's whisker at 100 yards.
I'm no cat's whisker. That one was too close.
It still fell on the Jaff's position. Reckon there'll be anything left for us to mop up?
I won't be crying if there isn't. Okay, here we go. The boss has given the high sign. Mopping up, you said, Jack.
Forever thus, Ned. We've seen them belted, pounded, burnt and blasted, but when it comes to time to move, they're still alive and firing. Only the steel, pal. Only the pig stick will finally put them out of action.
If they don't beat us to us...
So a grim battle developed there in the overgrown Heaths plantation on that morning of the 13th. And as the platoons of B Company, 2nd 25th Battalion, felt their way through the plantation towards the Japanese Marines less than 50 yards ahead, Australians fell. 5 of the platoon fell dead. 3 more were wounded, and one of the 3 was Corporal Richards. He fell and lay there under the searching Japanese fire.
They've got us where they want us.
Can't move onto this lot, Jack.
Did you get onto Richo?
Richards? You been hit?
Yeah. Right down there with Saws. Saws dead, looks like, but Richo's alive. You see him now?
I can see him. He's trying to signal something.
Yeah. Don't know. I get it. He's trying to point out a machine gun post to us.
Yeah. He's high enough on the slope to see down, and... Hey, let's put some fire down there where he's pointing.
Can't get onto him. Hey, what's going on across there?
Where?
We're Killer, and who's that other joker? Yeah, Bickler. Stay down, Killer! Stay down or you'll buy it! He's getting up!
And Private Kelleher did get up. He had watched the wounded Corporal Richards out in the open under the Japanese fire. Kelleher turned to his companion and said, "I'm going." And in the face of the sustained hail of deadly accurate fire, he ran, his hands tight about the grenades.
Killer! Killer!
No good shouting, Jack. He's going straight at him.
And he's into him. Look, grenades! He's done it! Blasted him to...
No, he's got some of them, but look, there's still some alive. They're taking over that gun again.
Now come back, Killer!
He's coming back, Jack. Running like a hare.
Oh, that took some guts. Lucky to get out of it. Oh, what's he doing now? He's picking up a Bren from that wounded bug. He's got his Bren there.
And he's going to use it. Look at him. Running back towards the Japs.
He's only got 20 or 30 yards. He must be bulletproof.
And firing. Look at him belting the leading wood, Jack. Look at him.
Take me eyes off it, matey. He's done him like a dinner.
The other machine's going to open up on him. Come back, Keller. Come back while you can.
And Private Kelleher came back to his position, but not for long.
He's going out again.
Came back to get a fresh magazine, that's all. Look at him now. Firing from the lying load. He's cleaned that one up. Come back now, Kelleher! Come back now!
And he came back again, but again, not for long.
But he's going out again. Doesn't he know this is the 13th? Oh, he's stretching his luck too far.
He's going after Richards. And he's got him! He's bringing him in, Jack! He's bringing Richards in!
And he brought the wounded corporal in. Why? Simple answer. Because Richards was his cobber. That 38-years-old Queenslander who was born in Ballybaggan, Tralee in County Kerry, Ireland, went single-handed in the spirit of Anzac to destroy the Japanese who had wounded his cobber. Then he brought his friend in. After the fierce action ended and the enemy had withdrawn, Private Kelleher told how he saw the party of Japanese Marines and how well fed they were too, he said. They held the ridge in Heath's plantation on the road to Leh. But let us hear Private Kelleher's own words. The opposition was pretty stiff because it was apparently headquarters and we were held up. When we cut a telephone line leading from their headquarters, the Japanese became a bit demoralized. Our section leader, Corporal Billy Richards, went down with a bullet through his shoulder and appeared to be losing a fair amount of blood. Another man was shot through the ankle and a third was wounded. All lay out in no man's land. I wanted to bring Corporal Richards back because he was my cobber. So I jumped from the stump where I was sheltering and threw a few grenades over into the position where the Japanese were dug in. I didn't kill them all, so I went back and got a Bren gun and emptied the magazine into the post. That settled the Japanese. Another position opened up when I went on to get Corporal Richards, but we got a bit of covering fire and I brought him back to our lines. I also helped the section to bring back the other two. Simple, wasn't it? But not simple to the men who had watched that heroism that won Private Kelleher the Victoria Cross that day on Heath's plantation.
Makes a man think, doesn't it, Ned?
Yeah.
What guts.
Yeah.
If ever a man earned the VC, that's him across there.
Yeah, and if anybody doubts that the 13th is an unlucky date, you can...
Ask those Japs lying out there. Must be 300 of them. Or maybe they aren't so unlucky. Maybe they're lucky that for them the war's over.
Citation. These stories are authentic. The program is produced at AWA by Donald Crosby for Army Public Relations.
Okay, that was, I think we got the story there. Yeah, there's a lot more where that came from, actually, so we might throw some of these into the mix here and there. They're quite compelling and well told, and as I said, I've got a few of them here as well, these Citation Army records, so we'll try and make something of that. Yeah, all right, well, that was our little OTR offering. Now, what I thought would be good, now everything's sort of back up and running, it would be good to have a little bit of a look at the music of Ernest Chasson. Chasson was a French composer who, more or less a contemporary of Debussy. I'm sort of multitasking here because I realised the track that I wanted I haven't got up on the screen. Bear with me, folks. It won't be long. I'll find it. Where is it now? It's here. Here it is here. I think that's the one. Is it? No. I've just got to keep looking for this because I had it ready before and then I lost it when when everything went south. Yeah, we are looking at the music of Chasson. He was a contemporary of Debussy. He was a romantic composer. Interesting figure, came from quite a wealthy background and didn't really start composing music until he was quite old, until he was in his, in his 20s. He was sort of a late starter. And he was just getting some traction, and he was visiting a lot of the salons in Paris and becoming well known for his dabbling, and then he started to take formal education, and then it all sort of started to go really well for him, and he had several compositions which were sort of very favourably reviewed, and you're seen as a progressive and sort of part of that elite composers. And then something terribly tragic happened. He was riding his bike and was riding down a hill and hit a wall and died. So that was it. So, a bit of a shame. Mr. Chasson died in a bike accident in 1899. So, we'll have a listen to... He wrote quite a lot of music, a lot of chamber music and songs. And there's a soprano who I've been quite interested in, and there's a recording here of her singing... Oh, contralto, sorry, I'm half with it. This is a singer, what's her name? Irma Colasi, that's right, Irma Colasi. She sang Chasson's poem De l'amour et de la mer. It's songs of love and the sea, and one of the songs is entitled La mort de l'amour, which is the death of love, and it's a beautiful, beautiful song, fantastic orchestration, and yes, very much in that tradition of poetic writing. For beautifully textured French perfumed writing. And look, if Chasson would have become another Debussy for sure if he'd lived on. He was equally as progressive as Debussy. They were good friends. They knew each other really well. He had a bit of a fallout just before he died with Mr. D, only because Debussy was having so many love affairs. I think it started to sort of wear a bit thin with Mr. Chasson with his moral constitution, but that's another story. Anyhow, without any further ado, let's have a listen to this poem De l'amour et de la mer, songs of the sea and of love, and we're hearing this one about the death of love, and this is this wonderful Greek mezzo called Irma Colasi. So hopefully this is going to work, and this goes for a few minutes, but and it'll lead into some more of Chasson's music. That's our feature for tonight. VK3SL testing.
Le temps
Yeah, we just heard the music of Ernst Chasson with Irma Colasi as the mezzo-soprano. That's one of his poems, De l'amour et de la mer. And we heard The Death of Love. Beautifully written music. It's incredible. I've always felt an affection for Chasson's music, whether it be his chamber music or his songs, and shortly we'll hear another work. And it's just such a beautiful use of orchestral texture and a sense of melodic line. He certainly would have gone far if he hadn't had his bike crash. So that was magnificent singing, Irma Colasi. I've got to keep her in I've got to look up more of her material. She only died a few years ago in her 90s. That was recorded in the 50s. So it's off a London LP. But commend that whole work. It's about 8 poems in that series and that particular work. And that's just one of them we heard then. Now a different poem, a poem for violin and orchestra. And this is probably Chasson's most famous piece. It's a work that he wrote for Eugene Isai. He wrote that in, I think in the 1880s or early 1890s. And he wrote this work. Isai wanted him to write a violin concerto for him. This is just when Chasson was starting to get on the map, and Chasson refused. He said he just didn't feel he had the skills, but he'd write a shorter work, like a rhapsody. And so it happened. He wrote this poem, which instantly became became famous almost overnight, and everyone wanted to play it. And it was probably one of the great violin pieces written in the 19th century. Heralded by everyone. It's sort of in everyone's repertoire. I still play it a lot. I got to know the work well because a very good friend of mine back at uni, when I was at uni, she performed this with the orchestra, and I knew her very well, and I used to hear her practice it a lot. So yes, I got to hear it. And then I've sort of started collecting recordings of this, and I've got probably about 20 different recordings of this piece. So trying to select something to play and to represent the work has been an interesting challenge. But I might sort of, come back to it a few times. Anyhow, so I thought we'd hear the great French violinist Ginette Neveu. Now, Ginette Neveu was a remarkable virtuoso, and she also tragically died young. She died in a plane crash when she was only in her 30s. She was 30. 1949 she was killed. I think she was on the return from Australia. She'd just done an Australian tour. But she was just the most amazing player. Anyhow, I won't have people interested. They can look up Ginette Neveu, Neveu. There's a small amount of footage of her playing this piece actually online. If you look up her name, you'll see there's some film of her playing a bit of the Chasson poem. Anyhow, we'll hear her play the whole work. It goes to about 10 minutes. And it's such a committed performance, and it have to be one of my faves. So I think we'll let this take the listener on a journey. So here we go. Without any further ado, VK3SL playing the music of Ernest Chasson. Yeah, there's the incomparable playing of Jeanette Neveu playing Chasson's poem. It's recorded in 1946. And Jeanette Neveu lived for another 4 years. Remarkable work. It's a piece that I never tire, and I've listened to it so many times, and so I might lose some listeners now, but we are going to hear it again. This is a very rare performance which has sort of emerged fairly recently, and it's significant. It's really significant because it's a late recording of Fritz Kreiser, an off-air recording made in 1948. Now, Fritz Kreiser was born in 1875, so this is well and truly after he more or less stopped concertising in the late 1930s and did occasional performances in the 40s. Fritz Kreiser had a terrible accident in 1941. He was run over by a truck and he was in a coma for a long time. Woke up and could only speak ancient Greek for a while. Quite bizarre. And then eventually regained his ability to speak normally. And he regained his ability to play. And there are a few late recordings of Kreiser, but this is significant because Kreiser was the most, before Jascha Heifetz came on the scene, Kreiser was the most famous violinist in the world, particularly around the turn of the century, and he started concertising in 1888, and he was, he was the one fiddle player that everyone aspired to, certainly before Heifetz came along. And even Heifetz copied Kreiser, and that would be worth a program in its own, comparing recordings of Kreiser's to Heifetz, and you can hear the young Heifetz just copied Kreiser. It's amazing. Anyhow, Fritz Kreiser reigned supreme. He wrote the cadenzas for all the major concertos, and he was really highly regarded. Anyhow, after the war, he sold off his entire antiquarian book collection. He had a huge, huge collection. It was worth millions and millions of dollars. And he sold it all at auction for the war effort for displaced people. It's a very noble philanthropic gesture. But the one thing he kept, one important score that he kept, was the score of Chasson's poem. He hung on to that. He had the original score. He knew Chasson, and he was, playing in Europe at the time. In fact, he'd been playing for nearly 10 years when this work was written. So it's interesting, his association goes way back. And the very fact that there happens to be a recording surviving of Kreiser himself playing it is just all the more remarkable. It's a very late performance, and Kreiser's in remarkably good form, and you hear a lot. It's fascinating because you hear him in fairly high fidelity. It's often acetate, but it's pretty good quality for most of it. Some of it's damaged, but it's pretty good. And you hear his wonderful sort of Viennese quips. There's a certain sort of Viennese signature, that expressive quality to Kreiser's phrasing, and it's very evident here, and it's really interesting contrast to what we've just heard. It's a totally different approach to the work. So it's I think it does put things into sharp relief when we hear the white-hot intensity of Jeanette Neveu compared to recording of Fritz Kreiser. So we'll hear this now, and I'm hoping the CD player does justice. It's a rare recording. I got this from a collector years ago, and it's one of the things that I find really fascinating. So we'll have a listen, and then we'll find something short to write out because it's getting quite late. So let's see how we go queuing this up and get ready for another dose of Chasson poem with Fritz Kreiser, VK3SL. Yeah, we heard Fritz Kreisler playing the poem by Une Chanson. Particularly interesting recording, considering Kreisler is at an advanced age at that point, and it sort of proves really that age is a myth. That playing us as youthful and vibrant as ever, passionate. It's incredible. It's such a great work. Alrighty, I'll probably wind up soon. I think it's getting late. Yes, it is. Short offering, just again to prove that age is a myth. There's another passionate recording of Pablo Casals. Now he's close to 90 here. He's well in his 80s anyhow. And this is another playing with a fantastic yearning quality. And I need to play more Casals on these test transmissions. Anyhow, thank you for hanging around for the show, and hope you've been suitably not entertained. And I will listen back. I don't think Frank's around tonight, but I'll have a quick listen in case there's anybody else there. And otherwise, we'll catch up with you next week. This is VK3SL bidding the listener a very good week. Cheers for now.
Thank you.